up, webheads? Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to bring you a scaled down version of Worthy Ones. That's right, this is the video series where I take all the new #1 comic books that I read for the comic book week and deem them worthy or not worthy. Now, the funny thing is this week I only picked up 3 #1 issues. And I think this shop that I went to didn't have all the books, or by the time I got there, they sold out of them. So since there was only 3, I was like, you know what? Why not do Worthy Ones? I know some of you requested it, and so let's go for it. Now, it may not be all kinds of like fancy editing and stuff like that, but the main important thing is that I'm going to give you my thoughts on these books, because there's a couple big books that were released. And pardon the actual location of the recording of this video, as I'm literally recording it on the hotel bed. So here we go. So let's talk about the first book, the Tenement. This is issue 1. This book is written by Jeff Lemire, and the artwork is done by Andrea Sorrentino. If you're familiar with this creative team, they do a lot of work with each other. The artwork is what you can expect, and the tone of the art definitely fits the style of book here. It looks really great. I've been following Jeff Lemire ever since his Green Arrow run on the New 52, and this is just a nice book to look at. And obviously this is a setup issue of what's to come when it comes to this book. Now, in this issue, we get to see kind of like this narration by this older gentleman by the name of Felix. And there's these 7 people that live in this building here. And somehow they're all connected. And you don't know how they're connected, but you do get briefly introduced to all the different characters that are going to be the major players of this book. And they all live again in the same building on different floors, and they have all these problems and things like that. And this book reiterates over and over again, you have all these problems, all these distractions in your life, and then all of a sudden you go to other places, and then once you get past all those distractions, then you go to another place, and all that stuff is forgotten. Really interesting story. All the characters had their own little unique flair to them. So yeah, this was a very interesting book, and I'm going to deem this book actually worthy of the pickup. If you're looking for horror, if you like Jeff Lemire, if you love Andrea Sorrentino, this is definitely a book that you're going to want to pick up. If I had to give this book a grade, I'm going to give this one a solid B+. This was really, really good. I wish I had a little bit more character development and maybe a little bit more dialogue, but Jeff Lemire tends to do that stuff. It's the same thing with like Phantom Road, right? It's like you got introduced to that first issue and it just was such a quick read. You're like, dude, I want more of this. So it seems to be a pattern with him, but I love when he does work with Andrea Sorrentino. Okay, the next book we're going to be talking about is The Incredible Hulk. This is issue 1. When this was announced, I was like, oh yeah, I'm really on board with this, because the whole spaceship Hulk book was a little bit weird for me, but it was still entertaining. Different style of artwork when it came to Ryan Ottley's artwork, but I wanted to get to a like more traditional Hulk where he fights monsters and it's Hulk smash. But when you really get down to this book really isn't, Hulk being stupid or anything like that and just smashing monsters. There's a much more in-depth story that's being presented here by Philip Kennedy Johnson. The artwork is done by Nick Klein, which I'm totally excited about. He most recently done the artwork on Thor, and the colors and the tones of this book also are just very dark and creepy and scary, and the transformations are really grotesque in here, and this has like a vibe of like Immortal Hulk, but obviously you can tell that there's a much different story that's going to definitely happen in this comic book. But again, all these transformations are insane. I mean, you get to see Bruce Banner like trying to, put his shoulder back in socket and stuff like that. It's just really crazy. But the introduction of this book was cool because we got introduced to these archaeologists or these explorers, and the head archaeologist, or one of the archaeologists, her name was Trudy, and she finds this skull. and it was like a little kid's skull or whatever it was. And the next thing what happens is it's possessed by some kind of evil magic, and when the explorer's like, Trudy, you ready to pack up? She has this like exorcist moment, and her whole head like twists towards the person, and then you get to see again this crazy grotesque transformation that happens. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And this person is like the eldest monster in the world, right? And she has, her mission is to find Hulk and capture the Hulk because he is a monster. And this woman has possession somehow of Betty Ross, which I don't know who Betty, how she got possession of her or whatever the case. And then we get introduced to this little girl who seems to be is going to be a major player in this book also. And I don't know who she is, but it looks like it's just going to be somebody that might be new in the Marvel universe. She wears like a Captain America backpack. She's got a scar on her face. But overall, man, this book was really solid. I had a fun time with it. This book is definitely worthy. I'm giving this book an A+. I really loved it. I feel like there is definitely just a much more intense and involved story that's going to come when it comes to this book. Alright, so the one book that we're going to be talking about today that I think you guys are all anticipating me talking about was Ultimate Invasion Issue 1. Now, the big deal about this book, this book was an $8.99 comic, so that makes this book a $9 book. Now, it is a hefty book. It's probably like, what, I don't know, 40 pages, 50 pages, whatever it is. It's a nice sized book. You get a lot of reading in it. Hickman doesn't gyp you of the narration in this comic whatsoever. So I thought it was a very interesting introduction to what is going to be the return of the Ultimate Universe. The artwork was good in some places. I love the colors in this comic book. Some of the characters look great in here as well. There's nice pin-up pages. There's some transformations that happen as well in here that was interesting. But the whole thing of this book is that Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe somehow gets these soldiers to come together to free him. Now, I couldn't tell you how Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe winds up getting into a jail cell. The last time I saw him, he was in King in Black. I don't remember him since then. So I don't know how he wound up in this jail. But he gets these guys to break him out. And I guess somehow, some way, he has these few people that he selected as similar DNA traits, and he winds up conjuring them all together to make him like a clone, so people don't realize that he escapes. And then there's like some kind of earthquake or something happens, and then we get Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and we get to see regular Reed Richards come and play, and they find out that this version of the Thinker is not the real thing. And they do all kinds of research and studies and find out that he's all over the place stealing things and stuff like that to build something. They're like, oh, what is the Thinker going to do? What's he building? There's something that he's up to. And you get to see him acquire all these different types of things and tools and stuff like that. And just as the Avengers wind up coming into play here about what's going on, you wind up seeing Ultimate Reed Richards escape. The cool thing about this is that, Reed Richards from Ultimate Universe and Miles Morales are the only survivors of this Ultimate Universe. So we get to see him actually come to Miles and say, hey, I'm going to give you this ultimatum, and you can either stay or you can either go. But if rules were reversed, I would want to go. And Miles is like, nah, I'm good here. So we get to see, Reed Richards of the Ultimate Universe go back, and he starts to alter or begin his recreation of the Ultimate Universe, and it all starts with Ultimate Spider-Man, Peter Parker. So I thought that was really cool, man, and there was a lot of stuff that was going on in this comic book, and definitely well worth the price, which means that this book is worthy. So I thought it was pretty good, man. I'm going to give this book a A-. I thought it was a little pricey. Some of the artwork was a little bit wonky, like freaking Black Panther's eyeballs were like protruding out of his eyes, and his neck was, you know, like a giraffe in many ways. And I just felt like the Avengers were a little stupid on capturing, you know, the ultimate version of Reed Richards, but, you know, too little too late, and that's comic books, but still a very entertaining read, and this definitely gets me on board to read the second issue. But I think so far out of these number ones, I would go with The Incredible Hulk issue 1. This is the best number 1 for me of the week. I didn't expect it to be as good and as horrific as it was. So out of those 3, that is my favorite. So guys, in the comments below, let me know what you thought of this week's new number 1s. What do you deem worthy and not worthy? And as always, guys, I'll leave you more content right here. In fact, this is some of the comic book hauls that me and my son Braden wind up acquiring as we've been on our trip at South Carolina. So guys, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but most importantly, always read your comics. Guys, I'll see you real soon. Take care. Bye.